Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I am the Desert Claw, and this week's chapter has all of the players set up to fight who they need to fight. But before we get to that, smash the like button and hit the subscribe button. Subscribing is free and really helps the growth of the channel. And if you're an anime-only viewer, you might want to turn away because there will be spoilers. Okay, so let's get to the chapter. So, the matchups that I predicted last week actually kind of happened. First, we'll start with Ritsu. So, Ritsu has the ability called Necropyro, and Necropyro lets her... I don't know if she summons Infernals from the other side of Adola, or if she uses the remains of slain Infernals just to re-rise them, but she basically raises an army of them. And you get to see both Arrow and Hinawa just go to town on all these Infernals. Now, if you remember back to that fight in the anime between Hinawa and Arrow, it was pretty awesome, wasn't it? Can you imagine this scene animated when we finally get to that point of these two powerhouse players just mowing down Infernals like this? And while they're mowing them down too, like Tamaki, now that we don't have Iris anymore, is still doing the prayer. And I mean, who knows if that prayer is even helping anybody at this point? I think another YouTuber made up a really good theory that the prayer to Holy Soul, when an Infernal is destroyed by it, that Infernal's soul and power just goes directly to the Evangelist because of the prayer. I've read through Fire Force probably like 3 times now. I haven't seen any indicator of that yet, but I could see that being something that happens. Like you get to the point where you fight the Evangelist, and the Evangelist is so powerful because of all the souls that have been sent to it. Or maybe they were sent to Amaterasu, who knows. So, Tamaki and Maki are also in the Ritsu squad, so they're just cleaning up any Infernals that get near the powerhouses. And then one thing that happens is Ritsu starts to summon these giant Giga Infernals, and the two melee characters have to basically stand back and leave it to Hinawa and Arrow because it's just too much for them. And so you get to see that pair fight even more. And then Arrow gets ready to set up a big shot, and then Charon just comes out of nowhere and just blocks it because he's such a powerful second gen. And he comes at Arrow, calling her a traitor, and it looks like Arrow's done for. Because if you remember, even if you're watching the anime this week, or if you remember all the way back to the Nataku arc, Arrow is really bad in close quarters. Like, Maki was giving her tons of trouble, and Charon is, to me, way more of a threat than Maki. And in this panel, you think, oh my god, Arrow's gonna die. And then the other matchup that I thought would happen. Ogun versus Charon. So this is probably the best matchup. So Ogun and him fight, and Charon goes to counter, but because of how fast Ogun is, he's not able to counter them. So they're like the perfect match to fight each other. And while they're fighting, Ogun is pressing Charon on his philosophy in life. And he's saying, why do you want to do this? Why do the White Clads want to destroy the world? And Charon basically says, because of the White Clads' access to the collective unconscious, they know what humanity's true desire is. And we know that humanity's true desire is death. And so his world philosophy is, we're just going to give it to him. And that doesn't make me a villain. It doesn't make us a bad guy. And Ogun's like, well, even if in the deepest dark of their soul, that's what humanity wants, as a fire soldier, it's still my mission to protect people. And then Charon's philosophy, that's, who are you, basically? Who are you to say what these people want? They want death, so they deserve it. Let's give it to them. And then Ogun, being the more optimistic, younger version, less jaded, we'll say, he pushes back on that. And then, interestingly, you kind of get the relationship of Hawame and Charon here, and it's clearly a father-daughter relationship. So Charon's been around Hawame since she was a young child, and he brings up that she's been listening to the collective unconscious desire since she was a little kid. She's had to hear every dark nature, deepest thought of man since she was a child, humanity's despair, everything, and it's shaped who she is now. And even he doesn't want to save Hawame by like letting her live her life and maybe not have a connection to Adola anymore. He wants to save her by letting her die, basically. and by doing the White Clad's plan, she will die. And so that's his gift to her in a weird ass way. Like, I don't know. I mean, it's not. I get the philosophy. I get where he's coming from. So he wants to bring up on the cataclysm to free Haumea from his hell, and in a way, it shows he cares for her. It's like freeing somebody who's suffering. If you were connected to the dark thoughts of humanity on a giant scale every day, you would likely go insane. And clearly she has. If you've been watching Haumea from the beginning of this series, she's nuts. So, yeah. And then, at the end, the fight's just about to start between these two, and Ogun still pushes back. He's like, I'm a fire soldier, and I'm here to stop the cataclysm. So you're seeing one of the things I love about this series is dualistic. It's a dualistic philosophy, and it has roots in philosophy. It has roots in psychology. Okubo has definitely done his homework. And so you're seeing Charon's nihilism, if you want to call it that, versus Ogun's optimism. And I think Ogun's going to trounce him. But I do wonder if Charon's not going to end up joining the side, because he is a nihilist, but he does care about Haumea, but he only sees one path to save Haumea, and that's in death. He hasn't thought about anything else. He hasn't thought, is there a way to remove the link? Is there a way to rehabilitate? Is there a way to show Haumea that there is a kinder, more loving part of the world? Like, to me, the collective unconscious is only a monolith right now of sadness and despair because it was engineered to be that way. When I say engineered, the evangelist has engineered humanity and society, if the lady in black is telling the truth from the very beginning, from up to the first cataclysm up to the second one, to be in a state to ask for death. I'm sure there's it's a cosmic mechanism that says when Adola encroaches on a planet, that it's like the old vampire saying, like, you can't enter someone's house without permission. Adola can't encroach on a world and the planet to make it a star unless the population gives it permission by saying, bring us death. And so the evangelist has engineered this. And so Charon doesn't have the ability right now to see beyond that, because he follows that philosophy that the collective unconscious is also creativity. It's fictional characters. It's the if you remember that scene recently in anime where Joker goes into Adola and they're like mathematics and all these other things. So all these great things that humanity uses to propel itself forward in progress also comes from Adola, not just the negative side. So that's the philosophy you're seeing here. So I'm wondering if Charon gets a beat down and gets more of a philosophical shonen fight, how that happens where the younger character is fighting the older nihilistic character. It's a shonen trope. Everyone loves it though. Will he end up joining and fighting against Cataclysm just to save Haumea? He clearly sees it as his daughter. Even though they're guardians, there's something more going on there. So that's the end of this week's chapter, though. And I kind of went really lengthy into that whole thing with Charon and stuff like that, but I kind of think that's where we're going right here. So tell me what you think about that. That's it. So next week we'll be doing some more Fire Force. I'll be streaming again this weekend. I usually stream on Mondays, but I finally got into the long line to get a GTX 3080 EVGA for the win card, and I wanted to wait till that comes in the mail to test out streaming on that, hopefully Friday. So yep, but until next week on the Fire Force stuff, hit the like button if you liked it, subscribe for more content. Once again, I am the Desert Claw, and I hope you all have a good one.